Hey everybody, good afternoon. Thought,
Howdy.
thought we would do a Holly and Wes Facebook Live. We haven't done this in a long time, so thought we could hang out with everybody for a little bit this afternoon, because
Got nothing else to do.
what else we got to do? But I thought it would be kind of interesting for us to talk about sorry, I just want to disappear if I move, how we're doing in the midst of all of the quarantine and the pandemic, and just talk about sort of how we've felt during this time and the good days and the bad days, and get real with people, because I guess I think that most people probably think that everybody else isn't stressed out. Would you think that? Like, I think that everybody, like, when we have moments of stress and anxiety and fear and worry, that we're probably the only ones that feel like that. Like, I think from maybe because most of what we see on Facebook, most of what I see are two things. either either memes, which sometimes are hilarious, and I appreciate the memes. Keep them
Yes,
coming. In
whatever
fact,
works.
post them in the comments. I want to see your memes, your best COVID-19 era memes. But either they're memes and we're just laughing and joking about everything, or they're inspirational, like, you can do it, we're going to make it through kind of things. And so I think that, or oh yeah, that's true, or the panic and the
We're all gonna die.
yeah, we're all going to die, or maybe some of the what do you call it, conspiracy theories. I've seen some of that. But so I guess I just think that a lot of people don't realize that everybody else has stress and anxiety about this too. Or I guess I assume other people do have stress and anxiety, because we've had moments like that. Like, I mean, I just want to be real. I think that that might be helpful to somebody. But I mean, I guess when it first started, was probably harder than it has been the last week or so. I've been probably a little bit better, but I've literally, my chest has hurt. Like, I've had, not because I have the virus, but
don't think.
yeah, as far as I know, but I've had, heartburn and, indigestion and a sore throat, just because of the stress and the worry. I'll wake up in the morning and I feel great, but as the day goes on and as I think about stuff more and more that I have to do, ministry wise, and things at home, and just different things, and then the things that are getting canceled or were getting canceled in the beginning, I just could feel it. I could feel the stress and the anxiety and the tension. And then some days are fine, and then other days it's a little bit worse. I think when everything was getting canceled, that was probably the most stressful.
Yeah, and that was hard because we had to tell our boys about different things being canceled, and so now we're past that point, at least for the foreseeable future. Hopefully, we don't know what May will look like yet, but we're past that first shock and initial. This is canceled. This is canceled. This is canceled. Nope, this isn't happening anymore. And so that was a hard part too. But now you're faced with, oh, we're still just sitting here waiting. And for me, the hardest parts are at night and in the mornings.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of the opposite, I guess, of
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
During the day, then I'm like doing stuff. We're homeschooling, which we were homeschooled before, but we're schooling, or we're relaxing or whatever. But for me, the worst parts are the nights and the mornings. But.
Yeah. And I guess that's one thing for which I'm really thankful, that we haven't had those moments where we're stressed at the same time. Typically,
yes.
There was one.
There
was one day, and in fact, I even did a Facebook Live about it. But there was a day where, I don't know, probably 3 or 4 different things. We found out LTC was canceled. We found there was baseball, lots of baseball stuff, both Little League and Major League Baseball, which are both important in our house. So there were several things right in a row that all got canceled, and the boys were stressed and they were crying, and it just the tension, just like in the room, you could cut it with a knife. Like it was just so thick. And I lost my temper and I got mad and upset.
I did too.
And so it just was, that was the only time I think through all of this that we've been stressed at the same time. And I'm really thankful for that moments where you're feeling peace and calm and, everything's going to be okay. And I'm not, or vice versa. And we can help each other get through it. So I guess one of the things that I was thinking about was you had brought up about grief, that there's almost a grief process that we're all going through right now, and maybe even will be going through for a long time to come, because there's some things that some families won't get back, and thankfully, most of our stuff we will have again. But those that are seniors and those that getting married in the midst of this, or have family members that have passed away, and funerals and memorial services and just things like that they won't get back,
forever changed and gone.
Yeah.
And I think someone else mentioned that it was kind of a grief thing that I don't think I thought of that, but I totally agreed with it, and that we're all grieving right now. We've all lost something.
Yeah.
And hopefully it's not a family member or anything like that, but we've all lost something. We've lost the ability to go to the grocery store and get hot dogs and hot dog buns at the same trip.
Yeah.
Even how little that is. But it's true. We've lost, and so that does affect us.
Yeah.
And our sanity and our...
Somebody asked, Kenneth Wayne asked, how are you guys dealing with not being able to worship as we used to and other church events? And for me, that's obviously been the hardest thing that on me. Preaching is really hard. Every Sunday, I tell Holly, I think it's going to get easier every week. And it's not. I hate it. I hate not gathering. And I haven't wept over it, but I think that I will. I think that when it's all over, I think that it'll finally hit me and I'll have a cathartic moment where, I just let it all out. I get it. And obviously I'm fully in support of us not gathering right now because of what's going on. I think it's important that we allow this time for healing and, distancing, and it's working. And, we're so incredibly thankful for that. But man, it's hard. It is really hard not being with our church family on Sunday mornings and small groups and Bible classes. And, we're probably with church people half a dozen times a week, in different settings at least. And so our life is very different without that. And it's really hard.
Yeah. And it helps us appreciate it, which I hope we didn't take for granted at all before this, but it helps us really appreciate when we can get together again, and not to take that for granted and enjoy every minute that we are together. And because that last Sunday that we were together, who would have known that was going to be our last Sunday? If it was, we would have been the last ones out the door, which you probably were anyway, but everyone would have stayed and wouldn't have left, if we knew that we weren't going to see each other for a month.
Yeah. Somebody said our faith in our Lord Jesus Christ will get us through this POW experience. Yeah. Keep praying, brother. And that's exactly right. And that's something too that, that I've had a hard time balancing, because on the one hand, I want to be the eternal optimist and just always be finding an opportunity, even within the family, to be preaching, and just say, hey, God's going to get us through and it's all going to be okay. And I think that that's necessary and important, and we have to do that, and we have to remind ourselves. I've often told myself, this is what you preach every single week, Wes, that you have Jesus and Jesus is all you need. That if you have Jesus, then all of the rest of it can go away and you're going to be okay. And so I keep having to preach that to myself and to the family. But at the same time, I think there's a balance to that where we acknowledge and allow ourselves to be sad about some of the things that we've lost. In fact, there's been moments where I've said things like, well, at least we don't, or at least we have, or at least whatever. And like, Hollee, you've even said, do you remember? You said, don't even finish that. Don't even finish that sentence.
I know it's not that bad,
right?
But
Yeah. I said, can you imagine what it was like in a third world country? And she's like, well, just don't even finish that sentence and I think you're right. I think that there has to be a balance where we keep reminding ourselves of all of our blessings in Christ, but there also has to be lament. Like if we don't acknowledge how bad the bad news is, then we can't appreciate the good news. Mm-hmm. If we don't say this world is broken and we hate the death and the loss and the grief and the hurt and the pain and the destruction of the things that are happening in our broken, fallen world, if we don't acknowledge that, then we can't appreciate the better world and the better life that Jesus promises us. So I think we have to do both. And if we're just, Pollyanna, so to speak, sometimes, then we don't. So
that's hard because even Noah today, he was like, I'm missing my first LTC experience. And I was like, well, I know, but, you've got, and I said, but you've got, we were there last year, even though it wasn't you, it was with your brother, and we were there, and I caught myself saying, no, but, I was like, no, and then I think we went back and said, but you're right, it is a bummer.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry it's like that, you know, and so it's hard not to discredit their feelings and our feelings.
Yeah. That's why I really appreciate the way, like Jim Morris put that, our faith will get us through. And then he says this POW experience, and it, it really is, a monumental experience. And for some, worse than others. Obviously, we haven't lost anyone close to us to the virus or to any cause in the last few months. And so, but I think to your point too, that you can't necessarily compare grief all of the time and say, well, some people have it worse, so mine isn't a big deal. But it really is a big deal to you. Like if you lose something, whether it be baseball or just time away from, out of the house or, going out to eat or whatever, if you lose something, it hurts. Yeah. Yes, it hurts less than losing a child. Yes, it hurts less than losing a parent. Yes, it hurts less than whatever, but it's still a big deal and it still hurts. And I think that saying, yes, it's a bummer. It hurts. This is bad. Let's see. Someone said, I'm currently doing a series over laments. I thought it would be a Debbie Downer series at first, but it's been helpful to engage in. Oh, yes, Christopher, absolutely. I think that we don't understand or appreciate the importance of lament, and I don't think we lament enough. I think that living in a first world country a lot of times makes it so that we really haven't had too many collective experiences to lament, as some people in third world countries or, in times past, especially in this country, where collective groups of people have suffered oppression or have suffered injustice or have suffered whatever the case may be. And this is a moment where not just in our country, but in our world, we are collectively suffering through something together. And maybe for some of us, it's the first time where we've really needed to lament. And unfortunately, I think that a lot of us don't have the language for that. Most of our songs that we sing, most of our songs in our songbook are not songs of lament. I can't really think of any songs of lament. They're all songs of praise and thanksgiving and everything's great and wonderful. But in moments where everything's not great and wonderful, we need words for that. We need a way to express that. Thankfully, we have that in the Psalms, but we need to put some of those into circulation in our singing too, so that we can say, this stinks and I hate it, and God, I want this to stop, and I want you to bring deliverance, not just in an ultimate sense, but deliverance from this moment of hurt and pain, and be able to express that in words. I think that's incredibly important for us to be able to do. Um, I don't know. I just think it's important for us to be able to be real with people and tell people that we have days where we uh, get upset and where we feel the tension and the stress and the anxiety, where we feel like even even just acknowledging that sometimes we're pretty sure we're getting the virus. We've known people. We know people personally that have the virus, and obviously we're praying for them and concerned for them, and in no way think that that's a joke at all. But they're, in fact, that's why I guess I've always tended to be a little bit of a hypochondriac. And if you talk about a cold, then I start to feel like I'm getting one. If you talk about having a stomach bug, then I think I'm getting sick to my stomach. And so all of the talk about coughs and fevers and flus and viruses, and it makes you second guess everything that's going on. And so it's really stressful to worry that you're getting sick, to worry that you might make somebody else sick, to worry, when's everything going to get back to normal and what's it going to be like, and just not knowing.
It's like I can deal with this, but I want to know when it's going to be over. I want to be to that part where we look back on it already. Get me to that point, because then I could look back on it and say, oh yeah, we made it through all right, but I want that to be over. I want that part now.
Right. Yeah.
I know it's going to be fine.
Yeah, the retrospect is one thing, but
I know it's going to be fine, but I want to be at that part where I can retrospect.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we all do, I think. Isabella asked, how are you two dealing with the loss of physical friendships? We're playing and often FaceTime as a group. Yeah, we've been doing that a lot. Yeah. I don't know how all of the internet and online streaming services have kept up with everything that everybody's doing, but yeah, we've been doing a lot of Zoom meetings. In fact, last week we had our online worship service, obviously, and then immediately after the worship service, we had a second worship service with my family. So my extended family, I have 3 sisters and their husbands and their children, and my parents in Abilene. We all got on a Zoom conference and we had communion together. We prayed together, brothers-in-laws and my dad and me. We all said prayers and had a time of worship and reflection and contemplation. It was really beautiful. It doesn't replace being with each other, and I think that's another tension that we have to express. There's some good things that are happening, and we're thanking God that we have the ability to connect with people virtually, but it still doesn't take the place. It doesn't take the place of being together in each other's presence. And I know a lot of people are concerned about, what happens when we come back from this? Are people going to come to church? Are they going to come to the assembly, or are they going to say, I've been worshiping online so long, I'll just keep doing that? And I think that most people will say, no, I desperately need that connection and to be with each other. We had one of our elders come up and do the communion focus, and he came up to the building and he just, I don't know that I would say he was emotional, but it thrilled him just to be in the building, just that sense of normalcy and just being. And that's what a church building is. I've seen some people almost be critical of the church building during this time, like, hey, the church doesn't need the building. And yeah, that's true. Obviously, we're still the church and we're still being the church, even though we're not in the building. But the way I think about a church building is it's our house. It's our shared house. It's all of our families. We have, hundreds of families at McDermott Road, and that building is our shared house. And yes, if you and I and our boys couldn't be in this house, we would still be the McAdams family. We would still be family. We could still do family things. We could still be a family. But being here is important, and we would feel dislodged if we couldn't be here, and coming back here would be a precious thing because this is home. And the church building, for a lot of us, for us, it's our shared house, and I can't wait to be back in our church building with our church family. We're making the best of it. We're doing Zoom calls and Facebook Lives and texting and emailing and sending cards, and we've even dropped some cards off at people's houses and that kind of thing. But man, I can't wait to have that presence with each other.
Yeah. And I think, like you mentioned, it's so nice that we have this technology and our phones and we can text. I mean, if we didn't, you know, speaking of sharing your frustrations with other people, it's been nice that I can text my friends and say, man, I am, I said when I turned the calendar to April and there was nothing on it, that was hard for me. And then so I texted a couple of my friends and was like, man, I just turned the calendar and this threw me, guys. Wow. And they said, oh, yes, me too. And it is awful. And so it was helpful to hear that. And so I'm thankful that we have texting and that we have this stuff and we have Zoom and if you haven't taken advantage of that, maybe text one of your friends you haven't talked to in a while, or that's all of us now that we haven't seen each other in a long time. But use that and encourage somebody today because it's really necessary and helpful.
Yeah. Sean Casey said, this has decreased stress for me personally. We've slowed down and bonded more as a family. And I love hearing that. And, it almost brings me a sense of calmness when I hear that other people have allowed this time to bring them calmness. And I keep trying to have those moments. I'm sure I've had those moments because I get stressed out with all the stuff we have going on. Most weeks for the last 2 or 3 years, like almost every night of the week, we have something going on.
Right.
And I've always looked forward to the nights where we don't have anything going on. And right now, there's nothing going on any night of the week. Like I work all day, but at night, there's nothing. We don't have ball games. We don't have worship. We don't have, whatever. And I really haven't taken advantage of that, I don't think, in my spirit to just be calm and we have bonded a lot and done a lot of things as family. We played more board games than we've played in a very long time, and we've had lots of togetherness and we've had fun. But I'm just not very good at embracing the calm, and so I'm really glad that a lot of families are doing that. I'm going to try to get better at that. Yeah. Let's see what else somebody else said. The technology we have is great and we're so blessed to have it, but it's not the same as being with our loved ones and church family. I can't wait until this time is over. Yep, Margie, that's exactly how I feel as well. I'm so thankful. McDermott Road has made a lot of upgrades to our technology, and we even hired Travis Hollee, who's come on board and has helped us with our technology a tremendous amount. 2 or 3 years ago, we didn't even do Facebook. We had no Facebook presence at all, so we weren't live streaming or even doing anything with video up until a couple years ago. And now we have all of this capability, and I'm so incredibly thankful that we have all of that in place. But like Margie said, it just doesn't take the place. And I think that for the most part, I think most people are feeling that way. And I really think that there's a lot of people that were sort of, their attendance was sporadic. I think there's going to be a lot of the people that were sporadic attenders that this is going to be a shift for them, and they're going to say, I need that. I need presence. I need to be in the presence of my brothers and sisters.
So when we get back together, we need to remember it'll be so great to see our friends and, those ones that we've talked to every week, but we haven't been able to see. But then we can't forget about those people who were kind of on the outside before and be ready to encourage them and say, hey, come and we want you to stay. Please don't leave again. We got to be ready for those people and not forget about them, that they're back joining us again and we want them to stay.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a tremendous point. We got to be very careful about that we don't, when we get back together with our church families, that we don't become cliquish and spend all of our time with the people that we've really missed. Because there's going to be some people that they may not have those close connections and they're desperately wanting them. And so they come rushing back. And if they're not met with open arms, then that disappointment might be even worse than whatever was the case before. So, yeah, absolutely. So, I guess one of the things that I'll say as we close, Malachi, you want to say hi?
Hi.
That's our oldest son. One of the things I'll say as we close is that I think it's really important. We've talked a lot about the worship and the online worship experience. I think it's really important that you find a way to do it in such a way that you can participate and you can not be distracted. I think it's really easy for me. I've started a few times to watch somebody's live stream on my phone on Facebook. I'm scrolling through and I'll see, hey, there's a Bible study, or somebody's doing a Tuesday afternoon, one of these or whatever. And I'll start watching it. And then 20, 30, 40 seconds in, or maybe 2 or 3 minutes in, I get distracted. I want to see what else is on Facebook. And so I jump off of that. And so I really hope that people don't do that with their Sunday morning experience, that they really find a way to be intentional, whether they have kids or not, whether it's on the couch or at the kitchen table, just making sure that you're either watching it on your television or on a computer full screen, so that there's no other distractions. But it's really easy to just jump around and just take little tidbits here and there of different things, which can have its place. But at the same time, I don't want us to come back to Sunday morning and then be like, oh, I don't think I can do an hour and 15 minutes. So I think we just have to discipline ourselves during this time to make sure that we're maintaining good habits, and we're being who we need to be, so that when this is over, we can pay attention to, like you said, the people that really need those friendships and relationships, and also worship and other things. There was a passage, I always want to end with a passage, but so today I was thinking about Psalm 46. It says, God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Therefore we will not fear, though the earth gives way, though the mountains be moved into the heart of the sea, though its waters roar and foam, though the mountains tremble at its swelling. There is a river whose streams make glad the city of God, the holy habitation of the Most High. God is in the midst of her. She shall not be moved. God will help her when the morning dawns. The nations rage, the kingdoms totter. He utters his voice, the earth melts. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress. Come, behold the works of the Lord, how he has brought desolations on the earth. He makes the wars cease to the end of the earth. He breaks the bow and shatters the spear. He burns the chariot with fire. Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress. I've been thinking about that passage all day today, just about being still and knowing that God is God, that he is God. And this moment in our lives has really reminded me I'm not in charge. And as much as I want to think that I can keep the world spinning if I just keep moving and doing and going and striving, I really am not in charge. And the plans that we make, they may or may not work out that way. And sometimes we have these moments where we just have to be still and trust him and just wait for God to show up, wait for God to keep his promises, because he will. He always does. But even in the midst of that, even in the midst of knowing that he will keep his promises, it's okay to be honest with how you're feeling and what's going on in your heart, what's going on in your mind, and what's going on in your spirit. So let us pray with you, pray for you. Let us encourage you. Let us help you any way we can. I always tell when I do Facebook Live on the church's account, put that in the comments. You've got brothers and sisters in Christ all around the world. And if there's anything with which we can help you, please let us know, because we'd love to do that. So we'll be praying for all of you. And if you have somebody in your family that's sick with this virus or sick with anything, the people that are in the hospital and separated from the people that they love, I know it's incredibly tough. If you've lost your job or your hours have been cut back, just know that you're not alone. You're not by yourself. We love you. We're concerned for you and about you, and we're praying for you. We love you guys. God loves you. We hope you have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.